I wasn't expecting peace, but for a few hours that morning, it felt like maybe I'd found it. There were no boxes left to carry, no roommates slamming cupboards, just me, a ceramic mug I'd owned since college, and the quiet hum of a fridge that wasn't shared. I hadn't even bought curtains yet. The light came in sharp through the windows, hitting the hardwood like it belonged there, like I did. The house wasn't big. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a modest yard with enough space for herbs and tomatoes, maybe even a lemon tree if I could keep it alive. But it was mine. Bought with money I'd saved for 13 years. Dollar by dollar, shift by shift. No loans, no cosigners, no shortcuts. And then my phone buzzed. Dad, 8:03 a.m. We need to talk about the house. Call me as soon as you can. At first, I thought maybe Peter Keller, my father, wanted to come see it. He hadn't said much when I told him I'd closed. Neither had my mother, Nancy. Just a vague, "That's good, Aubrey." And then the subject changed to how my sister was still struggling to find an apartment downtown. Cassie, 2 years younger, art history degree, no job, but thousands of followers for her soft girl aesthetic. She lived at home and always seemed to be waiting for life to make room for her, and it always did. I set my mug down and called him. His face appeared, creased and unreadable on the screen. No smile, not even a greeting. "We've talked it over," he said. "And we think it would be fair if Cassie had the house." I blinked. "What?" "She's drowning in student debt." "You're doing well, Aubrey. You could easily buy another place." It landed slowly, not like a blow, more like a dull pressure on the chest that doesn't go away. "We raised you," he added, voice firm now. "It's time you give back to the family." I didn't answer right away. Just listened to my father breathing on the other end of the call. That steady rhythmic inhale like he was bracing for me to argue, but I didn't. Not yet. Cassie was always the one who needed rescuing. Late tuition, they covered it. Cried during finals. She flew to Paris for artistic clarity. When she crashed the first car they bought her at 16, they gave her another one. Me? I took the bus until I was 23. "You're in tech?" He went on. "Cybersecurity, right? You make good money. And Cassie's in a really delicate place right now." "A delicate place?" I asked. "She's trying to build something. And she can't do that without a foundation. This house could be that for her." Before I could speak, my mother's face joined the call. Nancy Keller, still in her robe, still with that soft tone that always made the worst things sound polite. "Aubrey," she said gently, "we gave you everything we could, and now we're just asking you to do the same for your sister." "You didn't give me this house," I said. "No," she admitted. "But we raised you. We supported you. You wouldn't be where you are without us." The words were smooth. Practiced. There was no heat in them, no cruelty, but it still felt like someone was emptying my chest with a spoon. Cassie again. I thought about all the times I'd asked for help when I was younger. Book money, rent help, a co-signature. Always met with the same response. "We're prioritizing Cassie's education right now." I stopped asking eventually. Learned how to scrape through on tips and instant noodles. I was 34 years old. I had signed the deed, paid the down payment, set up the utilities, moved the furniture by hand, and here they were, smiling gently while they carved away at the one thing I had built on my own. "You're being selfish," my mother said. That was the part that stung. Not the ask, not even the assumption, but the word selfish, as if choosing to keep what I worked for was some kind of betrayal. Then my father leaned in, face hardening. "You have a moral obligation," he said. "To this family." I didn't yell. I didn't explain. I just hung up. Not out of anger, but because I knew if I kept listening, I might never speak to them again. 1 week later, a courier knocked on my door. Legal documents. My parents, Peter and Nancy Keller, were suing me. When I opened the envelope, I didn't feel shocked. Not really. It was more like confirmation, like the thing I'd always quietly feared had finally put itself in writing. Plaintiffs Peter and Nancy Keller, defendant Aubrey Keller, claim failure to repay familial debt, relief sought, transfer of real property to Cassie Keller, assumption of remaining mortgage payments, financial compensation for emotional harm. There was even a number attached, $289,000. Apparently, that's what raising me cost. I sat on the floor of my living room and let the silence settle around me. The walls were still bare. I hadn't even hung a single picture yet. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like evidence. They said I owed them because I wouldn't be successful without their early investment. As if my life were a portfolio they had the right to manage. As if love had always come with an invoice, just delayed. But that's not how I remember it. I started working when I was 16. First job was pizza delivery. Then I bagged groceries, cleaned movie theaters, spent one summer sorting dead letters at the post office. I did whatever paid just enough to survive. By 18, I was on my own. I didn't go to prom. I was saving up for a 1998 Honda with 200,000 m and a missing rearview mirror. I lived in studio apartments that smelled like bleach in desperation. Went to community college, then took night classes in coding, later a boot camp, then a certification, then another. It wasn't magic, it was grind. Meanwhile, Cassie was in Italy finding herself. They called her sensitive, artistic, full of potential. She studied art history at a private college, spent spring breaks in Lisbon, and summers in Vienna. My parents paid for everything. Tuition, rent, vacations, even the clothes she wore in her photo shoots. I didn't get jealous. I got quieter. I still remember emailing my mom freshman year asking if she could help me buy a $120 textbook I needed for data structures. Her reply came the same night. We're focusing our financial support on Cassie right now. Hope you understand. I did, and I stopped asking. But even with all that, I never expected this. Not a lawsuit, not the accusation that I owed them my house because I had finally built something they hadn't touched. Because that's what this was really about, wasn't it? Control. I didn't belong to them anymore, and that terrified them. The day after I was served, Cassie posted a story on Instagram. It was a photo of a sunlit kitchen, white subway tiles, brass fixtures, little jars of herbs lined neatly on the windowsill. The caption read, "Can't wait to make this place a home. So grateful to my family for fighting for what's right." The image wasn't my kitchen. It wasn't even a real listing. I reversed it, Pinterest. But the comments poured in anyway. "You deserve it, babe. A real queen gets her castle. So proud of you for standing your ground." I didn't reply. I didn't post anything. What was there to say? She knew I'd bought the house on my own. She knew the down payment, $77,000, came entirely from my savings. She knew I'd been sleeping 4 hours a night for years to make this possible. But Cassie didn't see my house as mine. She saw it as hers. Or maybe more precisely, she saw my success as a threat because for once it hadn't been handed to her. It's not that Cassie was cruel. She could be charming, thoughtful even. She sent me cards sometimes, called when she needed advice about boyfriends or landlords or bad professors. But she lived inside a different story. In that version, she was the overlooked one, the fragile artist, the good daughter who is just unlucky. And my parents, they fed that story like gospel. "She's had a hard time," Mom once said, when Cassie came home from Barcelona early because the apartment had bad energy. Hard time. Meanwhile, I was getting audited by the IRS because I accidentally filed as self-employed instead of W-2. I handled it quietly. The more capable I became, the more invisible I got. That's what favoritism does when it's dressed up as fairness. It doesn't scream or slap. It just smooths things over for one child while the other learns to disappear. And when the quiet one finally refuses, it looks like rebellion. My Aunt Denise, my mother's sister, called me that week. We hadn't spoken in years. She was upset I hadn't invited her to my community college graduation. Said it was disrespectful. Said I'd let success go to my head. I didn't tell her I hadn't invited anyone. I didn't even walk. It was an associate's degree. I was working a double shift that day. 2 nights later, I found out Aunt Denise had been funding my parents' lawsuit. Not because she believed Cassie deserved the house, but because she believed I needed to be humbled. The first hearing was scheduled 2 months after I got the papers. I arrived early. No lawyer, just a navy suit I'd worn to interviews and a folder packed with every document I'd spent weeks preparing. Bank statements, pay stubs, the mortgage agreement, closing disclosures, even the email where I wired the down payment. When my parents entered, I almost didn't recognize them. They weren't alone. Cassie was with them, clinging to my mother's arm like she was being marched into battle. And then behind them, Aunt Denise, hair curled, eyes sharp. They were all wearing the same white t-shirt, bold black letters across the chest. Family comes first. I didn't react, just turned my face forward and waited. The bailiff called the case number. We stood. The courtroom was quiet, fluorescent cold. There weren't many people inside. Just the judge, the clerk, the court reporter, and a handful of strangers sitting like ghosts on the benches behind us. When the judge asked if the plaintiffs would like to present their claim, their lawyer, a man who looked too tired to believe in what he was doing, stood and read from a prepared statement. The Kellys contend that their daughter Aubrey would not be in her current financial position without their emotional, physical, and financial investment over the course of her upbringing. In recognition of this, and in light of Cassie Keller's current financial hardship, they believe the fair and moral solution is for Aubrey to transfer the home she recently purchased to Cassie while continuing to service the mortgage during a transitional period of 2 years. The judge looked at me. "Do you have a response, Miss Keller?" I stood slowly. My voice didn't shake. "Your Honor, I am the sole mortgage holder on that property. I paid every dollar myself. There is no cosigner, no secondary name on the deed. There are no loans from my parents, no shared accounts, no written agreement, no legal obligation." I handed the judge a bound copy of my records. There was silence, a long one, and then the circus began. Cassie stepped forward, tears already in her eyes, and tried to hug me. "I forgive you," she whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. "I forgive you for pushing this so far." I stepped back. She stumbled a little. My mother gasped like I'd struck her. From the back, Aunt Denise muttered just loud enough. "Disgraceful little thing." The judge banged her gavel. "Order, please." Their lawyer began again, this time bringing out photo albums from my childhood vacations I barely remembered. He held up a print out of a $12.99 Happy Meal receipt from 2003, evidence of their investment. They submitted a screenshot of a text I once sent. "Love you all." Labeled proof of emotional connection. Cassie presented a proposal, an artist's retreat. She wanted to turn the house into a healing space for creatives like herself. The judge asked, "Have you earned income from this work?" Cassie hesitated, then smiled. "I'm a digital creator. I'm building my brand. These things take time." "And what is your current income?" the judge pressed. Cassie looked at my mother. My mother answered for her. "She's in a transitional phase." Then came the moment I didn't see coming. The judge turned to me. "Miss Keller," she said. "Is there anything else you'd like to submit?" I nodded. I handed over a small folder. Inside were emails from my college years. Me asking for help with tuition, with books, with groceries. The reply was always the same. "We're focusing our support on Cassie right now." The judge read in silence, and when she looked up, she didn't say a word. She just leaned back in her chair, eyes scanning the room like she finally understood what this really was. 5 days later, the judge issued her ruling. Case dismissed. No legal merit. Just like that. No drama, no theatrics, just a quiet line on official paper that told them what I had known all along. You cannot see your child for walking away. But the silence didn't last. The day after the dismissal, I came home from work and checked the footage on my security cameras, something I'd installed after the first court summons, more out of instinct than fear. There she was, Cassie, standing near my car in the driveway, looking around like she was waiting for someone. She didn't do anything, just stood there, nervous, still, then walked away. 10 minutes later, Aunt Denise appeared. She moved slower, more deliberate. She carried a can of spray paint, but when my motion light flicked on, she paused, looked up, then turned, and left. I filed a police report that night. The next morning, Cassie launched a GoFundMe, helped me rebuild my future after my sister stole my home. She used the same Pinterest kitchen photo from before, claimed I had manipulated the legal system and abandoned family values. My mother began posting in local Facebook groups, calling me ungrateful, accusing me of tearing the family apart. Then came the text, due to recent events, Aubrey will not be welcome at Thanksgiving until she makes things right. I didn't respond. I ordered Chinese takeout and watched a documentary about shipwrecks. A few days later, the group chat started to unravel. It was my cousin Rachel who said it first. You paid for Cassie's $200K education while I worked night shifts to afford community college. Now you want Aubrey's house, too. Then another cousin chimed in. Remember when I asked for $200 to buy textbooks and you said money was tight but bought Cassie a MacBook the same week? The chat exploded. Quiet people who had stayed neutral for years suddenly remembered what had been taken from them. Even Grandpa Raymond, my father's father, spoke up. You two are a disgrace. She succeeded in spite of you, not because of you. I read his message twice. That sentence hit harder than anything the court had ruled because it was the first time someone in this family had said it out loud. It's been 6 months since the court ruling. I haven't spoken to my parents since. They still text sometimes. My mother sends messages like we're struggling financially. When will you come home? Your sister can't find stable housing. She's hurting, Aubrey. My father sent one email. Short, cold. When will you forgive us? Family should stick together. I didn't reply. I didn't block them either. I just let the words arrive and go nowhere. Cassie now works part-time at a local Starbucks. She posts Instagram stories complaining about rude customers and toxic family dynamics. Her GoFundMe was shut down for violating platform guidelines. My aunt's workplace issued her a formal warning after she used her company email to harass me. The house is still quiet, but now it feels different. Safe. There's a German Shepherd mix asleep at my feet as I write this. Her name is Luna, and I adopted her from the shelter 2 months ago. She's got one floppy ear and a scar near her paw like she's been through something, too. We get along just fine. Grandpa Raymond started visiting on Sundays. Turns out he'd been trying for years. Said my parents always had a reason to keep him away. Too busy, too tired, not a good time. I didn't ask why. He didn't explain. Now he shows up every week with a paper bag full of groceries and a new tool for my garage. We eat simple food. We talk about weather, about fixing hinges, about things that don't require performance. Last week, he brought a photo I'd never seen. Me at my community college graduation. I hadn't invited him or anyone, but there he was far in the back, hands in his pockets, watching from behind the fence. I never missed you, he said. I just wasn't allowed close. Then he looked me in the eye and added, I'm proud of you, Aubrey. You didn't let them take what wasn't theirs. I didn't cry, just nodded, poured him more coffee, and sat with him as the sun sank down over the backyard. Sometimes I still get the urge to explain, to send one long message, lay it all out, every unpaid favor, every quiet hurt, every time I chose not to scream. But then Luna curls up near the back door. The light fades soft across the floorboards. And I remember I don't owe anyone an explanation for surviving well. Not even the people who raised me. I keep the deed in a drawer by the window. It's not just a house. It's proof that I got out, that I stayed out, and that I didn't come back for them to love me. I came back so they'd have to stop lying. You don't have to tell it all. Just leave one word they never said to me. Sorry.